Hey everybody, it's Tuesday.
And welcome to this week's edition of Hook, Line, and Striker.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Emily. And thanks for being here with us tonight.
Yeah. Oh, she's going to get after me and turn the comments on.
So to people at home, thank you guys for being here. If along the way you guys have anything going on, questions, comments, all of that, drop that in that comment section and we would love to be talking about that. Otherwise, we always give a minute, let people log in a little and we caught some fishing. So, we did actually quite a bit of fishing this weekend.
Yeah, we hit 3 different bodies of water. Rivers, lakes, all kinds of fun stuff.
Now I'm going to kind of throw Josh and I under the bus, I guess, if that's a thing, because one of the things that we did, I think it was on Sunday, we went to a body of water that was new to us. And
oh, that was Saturday. Oh no, Saturday.
Yeah, Sunday. It was a 3-day weekend.
Geez.
It's all, everyone's all thrown off. Welcome to Tuesday. That feels like Monday. I should say that. But we went to this lake, tried something new. And honestly, we found all kinds of fish schooling around in the deep, but they were moving so fast that it was so tough to catch them. So we did something that we never do. And I convinced Josh to
begrudgingly
move to another lake where we went and we crushed fish. It was awesome. Honestly, there's nothing better to say. We caught some nice bluegills and we caught a really, really nice crappie. One of the best ones that we've ever seen out of that lake. So I'm interested in, what you guys do at home. If you go out to a lake and it is not going well, do you choose to stay or do you choose to load up that boat and go somewhere else?
Now, my perspective on this is that this is a new body of water. And to me, it felt like giving up and going and grabbing your safety blanket because you were scared that body of water was going to kick your butt. That being said, we weren't catching fish. We were finding fish. We will go back and finish
We will
looking.
go back.
Yeah, we had a good day. And then Emily brought me out to the river and we got our butt kicked again.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, we didn't switch bodies. But no, we put on some miles on the Wolf. The water's high, water's cold. Fish are way up shallow. There was people parking their boats up in the woods.
That's
like literally up in the forest, there was boats and they were pulling on bluegills. So, it just is what it is. And we got some traveling to do this week. My last day of the week for work is tomorrow. And then we'll be at more fishing during the weekend. So
that is going to be awesome. So with that, there's a lot of comments coming in.
Yeah.
Loving that. Love seeing where you guys are at.
Burnsville, Apple Valley. Nice.
Jay, no invite. Let us know when you're available because we're fishing pretty much every weekend.
Here's the most important comment so far. Bill Young said stay.
Whatever. There's other people on my team, on the move team, and it is okay. So with that, let's bring in our guest. So Katie, welcome to the show.
Hey, Katie.
Hello. Thanks for having me, you guys. Thrilled to be here.
Yeah, thanks for being here. I was going to say, for people who don't know you, but honestly, it looks like a lot of people do know you.
Well, hey, guys.
But if there's anybody who doesn't, can you tell us about yourself?
Absolutely. So hello, everyone. Katie Corgiat here. I go by the name Miss Fish Whisperer online. I am truly an all species angler. And when I say that, I mean freshwater, saltwater, rivers, streams, lakes, open water, hard water, you name it, I go after it. I am based in the Midwest, good old Minnesota, don't you know? So a lot of the target species around here are those big largemouth, northern pike, walleye, good pan fishing action, and crappies, obviously. And so I'm excited about that on the ice as well. So I'm kind of an everyday angler, had some amazing opportunities to partner with Midwest Outdoors and be more on the media side. I was the gal that when I was like 3 years old, I was out fishing with my mom for the first time and catching sunnies off the dock. But I would plop in front of the TV on Saturday mornings and I'd bring, the girls from the neighborhood would come over. We'd be watching cartoons. I would change the channel to bass fishing and one by one they would leave. So obsessed with fishing, just a really passionate advocate for the sport of fishing, and thrilled to be on today.
Yeah, man. So that's like a whole lot of awesome stuff. And to be honest, I almost don't know where to start. So, you know, one of the things that you said is that you are Midwest. And we were talking about fish being a little bit finicky. We were talking about panfish, but I heard that you are targeting something else right now.
I am. So in the lovely state of Minnesota, we only have a few more days basically to go after smallmouth. So smallmouth bass are very much coveted around here, especially Lake Mille Lacs is kind of known as one of the largest fisheries in the Midwest for smallmouth. I'm not venturing up there. I have a couple secret honey holes, if you will, I'm going to explore. But we're trying to get after them. My personal goal, I've been trying to break 19 inches this season. I've only been out a few times for them. I've gotten 18 3/4. So we'll see if we can make it happen this weekend.
So when you are targeting smallmouth this time of the year, how are you going about that?
A few different ways. So you actually were talking about how fish are shallow right now. They are. It's insane. I mean, I thought that they would be totally schooled up, you know, off of that weed line, hunkering down on some boulders and maybe 15, 20 feet of water. But we've actually been catching them in like 6 feet of water. So one of the things that I noticed on one of the lakes I was on recently was got out there, it was flat, but there were so many bait fish that were just trickling on the top of the water and bluegills. I'm like, all right, match the hatch, match the catch, what's going on? So I started throwing some crankbaits that were kind of more natural hues, perch colors, bluegills, and they started smashing them. So I've been doing some of the, you know, 3 to 5 foot kind of divers, if you will, for crankbaits, doing some chatterbait action, spinner baits, and that seems to be going pretty well in shallow water.
And then do you have go-to colors or patterns, or I guess you're talking about match the hatch, so bluegill?
Yes, most definitely. I was going to do a little show and tell.
Yeah.
I'm not going to show my super secret one just because I got to keep it a secret. But I will say something that's a little bit more natural of a presentation where you're matching the hue. So the color of the water I've been fishing has been more green tinged than brown. So just an example of this. This is a Strike King little KVD. I think it's a 1.5, and you can see it's got that green hue on the top, but it also has almost that rainbow trout pattern where there's a little bit of pink and then the white belly, and there's something about that that seems to be triggering the bite. So more of the natural colors. When the fish have been super aggressive, then I actually do switch to chartreuse, something a little bit more in your face, just because I figure if they're hitting this, they're probably going to hit something that's a little bit more aggressive as well.
Man, and I love actually that you pulled that out, because it is so often that we talk to people and they pull out a bait that it's like neon purple with dots and this and that and crazy. But there is just something to be said about something that is so simple like that. And a bait like that can so easily be overlooked in a store. So, I mean, how do you go into a store and pick something that you think will work?
It's a struggle because I want to take it all home. But really the first thing I think about is, where am I planning to fish, or where do I think is the realm of possibility? And then matching the color of the water, matching the structure. Is it murky? If it's murky, then you're going to go for something that's a little bit more loud and proud. If that water is crystal clear, then you do want to match more of the coloration that's there, the natural, whether it's shad or bluegill, the natural fish that are in that lake, river, stream, what have you. So that's kind of my strategy. And then I do every once in a while kind of challenge myself to throw an oddball color in there, something that I would never ever like naturally go towards. And then I will make myself throw it at least once on the outing and see if it gets some kind of reaction.
That's why I bring Josh with me, so he can throw those that I don't want to. but it's amazing how often that works.
Well, and that's a good point. There's something to be said about trying something odd. And a good point to that was on Sunday when we went to our safety lake. We were fishing a little bit later than we normally do, and there's a lot of bait fish, like you were saying, skittering the top, but not in 6 feet of water, but in 24 feet of water. And so we were seeing, and this lake is notorious for having a lot of smaller bass and stuff. But I took my float and my little crappie jig that we were using, 15 feet down, and I shortened it up to about a foot. and I threw it out there, and I played some of the redfish game with them with the popping cork and the little bait behind it. And once you know, they weren't all little bass; they were big crappies chasing around.
Kidding.
Yeah, and so we were catching crappies in a foot of water over 22 feet. And so you just never know, you know, try something a little bit different and it might pay off.
Right. I mean, if you're seeing the signs that there are fish there and they just aren't biting, the chances are it's operator error, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do something different. Try a different part of the water column. Look to see if the fish are suspended. Look and see if there's nearby structure that they're maybe just gravitating towards. So that's kind of my go-to is if it's not working, I give it 15 minutes and then try something different.
Yeah.
So we're here talking about, you know, flexibility, being an angler and all of that. But a funny question from Scotty. Is there anything that you hate fishing for?
Oh, Scotty. So I gotta give Scotty a shout out because he and I fish a lot together. Anything I hate fishing for? He'll laugh at this. Goldfish. So there are a series of lakes. There are a series of lakes by me that are actually infested with goldfish. True story. Like so much so that I saw an osprey flying overhead with this big orange bubba in its talons just going away. I'm like, what is going on? So the DNR is working really fervently to try and get all these goldfish out. There's literally hundreds of thousands of them in this chain of lakes. It's so unfortunate. Started with little Johnny releasing his goldfish, you know, that was still alive, and they've populated so aggressively. So, I mean, they're stinky and they fight hard, but they're just kind of gross. And I took a group of buddies, including Scotty, to do that, and it was quite entertaining. But I won't be back.
Probably won't. It's actually amazing that you bring that up because Josh and I my parents live down in Illinois. I mean, I'm in Wisconsin. So we go and we visit sometimes, and they have like a walking path by a lake. I mean, it's closer to a city, so it's pretty suburban out there. But we walked around, the path is higher than the water. And one time we looked down and we could see, I mean, I don't know if it's koi or if it's goldfish, but those run pretty similar when they get to be that size.
Right.
And one time we tried to target them with bobbers and did not work out. One time we tried like on ice and that was like pretty tough too. But I mean, I guess what kind of bait do you use to even target something like that?
So it's funny you ask that because people think, okay, corn or bread, right? Something where you're kind of similar to carp fishing where you want that soft texture where they're not going to feel the hook. These goldfish seem to have acclimated to the lake really well. And it's really interesting too, because they started losing their gold and orange color and started turning more dark to be more natural. So they've been in there for a while, which makes you think, okay, well, what are they eating normally? They were surfacing like crazy. So I actually brought a fly rod and I started using flies, little mayflies, little like fly patterns, and they were going after them. Now, I'm not a great fly angler, so I was losing a bunch of them on my side, but they were eating that. And then they were also eating just little redworms on a bobber.
Oh, there you go. That's actually really awesome.
Yeah.
And then I guess like if people have local bodies of water that they do know that there are invasive species, I mean, I guess like as a side note, I guess I would encourage you to contact your local DNR because I mean, that is something we do want to make sure that we keep our local waterways, you know, kind of as natural as possible because that is one of the ways that we can otherwise have fish as healthy as possible. Mm-hmm. So with that, I guess there's another question here. What is the biggest northern you've ever caught?
Sure. Hi, Daryl. I also know him as a local. So around here, where I live in the suburbs of Minnesota, I did get very lucky probably about 5 years ago. And I caught a northern pike off of a dock on a live sucker minnow, not using artificial, 40 inches long. So that's the largest around here. I did catch a 45-inch northern up north on the Mississippi River a few years ago. And man, that was a fun fight because you had the current of the river. I thought I was snagged. I thought I was just way down on some log. And sure enough, as soon as it saw the boat, it just started screaming out. So those are the two largest. Locally, 40 inches, up north, 45.
That is actually a really lot of fun. Mm-hmm. I know that there's a lot of people down here in Wisconsin that love pike fishing, especially tip-ups in winter. So when you're talking about your big fish, are they coming open water or ice?
They're actually coming open water, and typically late season when the pike are putting the feed bag on, right? They're eating pretty much everything in sight, or even early season too, right? After the opener in May or early June is when I'm targeting them. I do a lot of trolling. I mean, that seems to be something that no matter what, you're going to get at least one pike, whether it's a snake or a large one. But typically, you know, the larger the profile, whether it's a swim bait or a big crank or what have you, the larger that fish strike is going to be.
So I guess tell us a little bit about your trolling technique. Everybody does it a little bit different. Are you looking a little bit shallower at that point?
Yes. So I am, you know, some of my friends scold me, but I am typically the type that likes the shallows more than deep. I need to challenge myself to fish deeper water more frequently. But I do typically find that weed line, right? And wherever there's a nice drop off from that, and I'm just hovering on that break. So, you know, outside of the weeds so that I'm not getting hung up every time I'm casting, but typically hovering in that 5 to 12 foot of water range, depending upon how high the weeds are. Obviously, as the season goes on, the weeds creep up and it's pretty much impossible to be in the shallows there. So you keep pushing out on that weed line.
Yeah, that is for sure. I know sometimes we're out looking for panfish, and sometimes in fall, you know, we'll be looking for those schooling fish out over the deep. And, you know, there's an occasional time where we'll wonder why are fish like moving around so fast. And it's only been a time or two that we've caught it on the AquaView, but that you turn the camera and you can see, you know, a big pike or a muskie that's there. And I do always think about, you know, having a big bait, you know, out while we're doing crappies, but,
just never happens.
it just never happens. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you guys have your bread and butter. I mean, it's obvious what you like to target most of the time, right, with your name. But it is something that I kind of challenge myself to have a rod rigged up with some kind of bait I can just drop down. Whether that I'm learning more and more about drop shotting, so that's something I'm going to continue to do. Been pretty aggressive with the Ned rigging this year, so that's something I always drop down. And then jigging wraps. Jigging wraps seem to work year round. Kind of a hot bait, I would say. The last couple seasons, I've been using it a lot on the river, but also challenging myself to learn it more on the lakes, and it seems to trigger some good reaction bites for sure.
Yeah, man. So you're talking about multi-species fishing and all of this. So, you know, how many rods do you go out with on any day?
You should ask some of my friends who are commenting and see what the reactions are going to be for how many. They always joke that I move into their boats every time I go out. So when I'm trying to be good, Scotty says too many.
Too many.
So when I'm trying to be good, I'll bring anywhere from 4 to 6, and then I try and use each one of them. I have them set up, you know, like 3 casting rods, 3 spinning rods, so that I can be doing, you know, crank baits, spinner baits, chatter baits, and then also have the ability to do more of that finesse fishing, wacky rigs, Neds, what have you. I should be able to be more comfortable, since I am part of line cutters, to just cut my line and re-rig. But sometimes when you're in the zone, you want to be ready, and you want to be ready for those situations like you guys were talking about, right? Where you're fishing a certain pattern, and all of a sudden you notice fish doing something completely different. You have a setup ready to go so that you can capture those fish.
Yeah, I mean, that's not really that many rods. We have a dozen rods at any one time in our boat, and half of them don't even fit in the rod lockers. So we have rods sticking out all over the place.
My mom commented, said too many rods, not enough time. My mom knows me pretty well. It's true.
That is true, though. Sometimes I find myself getting stuck using, you know, just like a rod or two. So I am really going to have to, you know, try to just put out some different rigs than normal. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I guess you are doing a really good job talking about how, you know, there's going to be different rods for different applications. You know, that's why you're bringing these different setups. So how do you go about choosing a rod?
It's a struggle. I do have my favorites based upon the species that I'm targeting. And then, you know, I would say more recently, maybe 80% of the time I'm fishing artificial. lures, right? So I'm thinking about, okay, is it going to be more of a power type that I'm going after, where I'm doing a lot of casting and retrieving, or is it truly finesse where I'm working the docks, I'm working the structure? The other thing I think about is, especially this time of year where you're maybe looking to target those fall walleyes, doing some jigging with live bait, or doing some kind of trolling with Lindy rigs is still something that I think about. So it's basically, what's the body of water look like? Are there a lot of rocks? Are there a lot of things I'm going to get hung up on? So, do I need to adjust accordingly based on that? And then what are the species that I'm going after? So that's really what I take into consideration. But like I said, my tried and true is typically bringing at least 2 casting and 2 spinning reels. And, depending upon the size of the boat I'm in, I'll sneak more if I can.
It definitely depends on how many people you have to fit in the boat that day too, because if it's like just Josh and I versus like also throwing the dog in there or like other people, that changes that plan.
Very quickly. Very quickly.
Gary is noting that you pack like you're going camping. And let me just say, when you are able to camp over fish and set hooks all day, then you'll thank us. You're welcome.
Right, exactly. Listen to the wise lady there, Gary.
That is awesome. So you were talking about switching up your setups and all of that. And I do notice you have a line cutter's ring. And that does actually make it really easy to do all that kind of stuff. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
I would love to. So shout out to Line Cutters. Really a huge fan of the company. For anyone who might not be aware, they started out, kind of got their name out there via Shark Tank. Vance, the owner, went on Shark Tank, did a pitch, partnered with Damien, and it kind of went from there. So Line Cutters has really expanded on their arsenal of products. I am wearing kind of a ring setup that was really their tried and true, their initial product. I have one of the limited edition colors on. They have typically black and glow in the dark and orange right now. But the nice part about the ring is there's dual blades on each side, makes it really easy for me to switch those lures out. And also it's a safe application. It can cut monofilament line, fluorocarbon line, braided line, super heavy line. I do a lot of fishing in saltwater for sharks even too, and it'll cut through 100+ pound braided line like no one's business. Just to show you, we'll see if we can make it happen on here. This is Trilene. It's XT Extra Tough. It's a H-test mono, but I'm just gonna show you quick how easy it is. So I made a little loop here. There's a line, boop, done, just like that. And it's a clean cut every time, so it's really nice with braid. Like I use 50-pound Power Pro like no one's business for northern pike. So what's nice for me is I don't ever have to worry about the fray, and I'm able to do some really clean tagline cuts and never have to worry about it kind of unbundling. And so that was the ring. And then I'll show you really quickly. So I actually have a lanyard on right now. This is their newest offering in the product line. It's a zipper pull. So obviously, with the Line Cutters and Strikers partnership, there are some great applications of this zipper pull coming with your climate jackets, which is so exciting for this winter. Nice little added bonus, but the zipper pull is super handy on a lanyard or a key ring as well. And then they do offer these flat mounts, which I have 4 of these on my boat. They're really nice because wherever you put them, they're going to stick and they're not going to go anywhere. And so it's great for, you're in your boat, you're really familiar with how you walk around in your boat. Okay, just simply cut it here, right next to you, make it really easy to use it time and time again.
And I think that flat mount is really cool to even put on the Vexlar in winter. Yeah, that's, but a few other things. So Bert is asking who makes the ring. So all 3 of these that you're talking about are Line Cutters. You're doing a really great job showing the logo right there. So that should be pretty easy to find. We can probably even get a link into the comments here for people. Andy looks like he's tagging them probably on Facebook, but I can't quite tell that from my end, so that's a guess. And then Megan is making a really great point. All of these products are quite versatile. You're showing like the ring, for example, and you can tell that's pretty comfortable. You've worn it the whole show so far. It doesn't seem to get in the way, but you can put that in other creative places. So she's bringing up like your fishing rod. So can you tell us about like those other applications?
Absolutely. So I really wish that I had my rod with me. I have all of the things for show and tell, except I didn't bring a rod up here. Sorry, guys. But what I will say is it's so nice because this Velcro is so adjustable. I can literally just take this ring off, and then you can slide it through the butt of your rod and then just right behind where your bait caster is. And that's so cool because you're able to literally just on the fly, bloop, cut your line and go ahead and switch out your lure. So that's one application. Another one that I've seen people do, and I actually was at the Minnesota State Fair this weekend with the line cutters crew working the booth, and we talked about this time and time again, is people will take like a zip tie, a heavy duty zip tie, and they will use it through the Velcro here and tie it to something else. So whether that's a specific pole on the boat, what have you, it makes it really nice because if you, for some reason, don't want a permanent flat mount somewhere and you want to be able to use the ring and just keep kind of switching up positions, then you can cut that zip tie whenever you're done with it, move it, and put it somewhere else.
Mhm.
That is really super fun. But like what you're talking about in the first place is the application, you know, the use of it. So it is really easy to kind of have it around your boat, especially that zipper pull you're like talking about. I have one kind of attached to my forceps, and yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Yep.
those are just so easy to use, but they really do cut the line so nicely. You don't have the frayed edges. And some people are looking at that and they're thinking that you're not able to really make a very finesse cut. But I can say I definitely can get close enough. You know, if I'm tying on a new jig, I can definitely get close enough to, you know, have a short enough tag in that fish are not bothered by that.
Yes, and there's a very specific technique to do that where you can get so close to it, or you can even cut the initial knot that you made on the line, whether you're using a polymer knot or a cinch knot, you know, fluorocarbon or braid, what have you. And it's just working it over time, right? Because you kind of, you're just awkward with it at first, but there's just a simple kind of pinch and pull technique, which I wish I had something tied up to show you guys. I wasn't that prepared. Sorry, next time. But it does make it really slick for on the go.
Yeah, that's awesome. It does also look like we got some links posted. So if you are here with us on YouTube or if you are here with us on Facebook, it looks like there is a link here for everybody.
Mhm.
Perfect. So you had mentioned that you have a few things for show and tell. So, I mean, I guess I'm interested, like, what else do you have?
Oh boy, here we go. Okay, so I will say I noticed that my friend Clifford is watching. So hello, Clifford. Clifford is kind of the marketing guru of Stanley Jigs. So I have a great partnership with Stanley Jigs. Lonnie Stanley was an amazing, amazing man, and he actually just passed away recently. So bless him and his family. Rest in peace, Lonnie. But he founded Stanley Jigs, and I am obsessed, you know, with their spinner baits. They're known for their rivets, pretty much in the industry, right? The frogs and the top water, they made a name for themselves with the rivets. But their spinner baits are kind of my tried and true. I'm going to see if I can show you without dumping them all out. So here's my go-to tackle box of spinner baits. I do a lot of 1/2 ounce, double-bladed, Colorado style. Here's my favorite one, hot pink, because that's not subtle at all. So
That is actually awesome, though.
yeah, isn't that perfect application? Murky water, right? Because it cuts through and you're able to see it. And the fish, somehow, some of them really like to be pretty and pink. But I do have a lot of green pumpkin as well as more of those chartreuse colors, white, depending upon what those conditions are. But you can just see a couple examples of that. Megan said she needs that spinner. Girl, I hear you. We'll have to get you one.
Well, and I've got to break in actually really quick because I have a funny story, and I don't share this very often because it's nothing but a fish story. It's true. We were fishing one time for panfish, and it was, I don't know, like early spring. Weeds weren't totally up yet. I don't know, maybe it was late spring. Whatever. We're bobber fishing, you know, pulling our bobbers along, kind of bobbing along. I had this pink bobber from Clearly Outdoors. It is just a pink bobber. And so I'm dragging it, you know, back to the boat. Again, I'm just looking for panfish. I'm reeling this thing in, and literally the biggest pike I've seen in my life. This is why I said this is nothing but a fish story. The biggest pike I've ever seen in my life came, and it was the most amazing thing. It came right under the surface of the water. It never broke that water tension. It was literally so big. I had just tiny panfish set up. I like Honestly, my reaction was to pull it back. I was like so shocked. I was so shocked to see this fish. And just as quickly as it came, it left. But I think that the moral of the story is that I learned that what this fish was after was the pink bobber. But I then went on an epic search for, I wanted a pink popper. Like, I don't often bass fish or, target northerns, but I wanted a pink popper to go out there and have another cast at this fish with like a setup that could handle it. And honestly, it took us buying blanks and painting them ourselves because I could not find one. So when you pull out a hot pink spinner, I'm like into that. Megan, you are too. Like, honestly, fish love stuff like that.
They do. One of the last tournaments that I fished was in a very, very clear lake. I will say the fishing was kind of subpar in terms of the size of the bass, but there were a lot of bass. They went after my partner, it was like a pink and a purple swim jig. They crushed it. I mean, time and time again, I was throwing more of the natural palette and he was doing the pink and purple thing, and they absolutely love it. So I think there's something to be said about the right application. And sometimes it takes an aggressive color, kind of like a bull in a ring, right? Where you're throwing the red flag, get that reaction bite or get that aggression going in that fish. I will show you my favorite natural Stanley Jigs. So cool. Clifford knows, and wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Clifford. I need a few more of these. So I'm obsessed with this. This is my favorite spinnerbait of all time. This is the Stanley Wedge. It is a double gold Colorado blade. It has the code red head. You can see that beautiful red color. And then it does have more of a natural presentation. So this is, I believe, the golden bream color for the skirt. So it has a little bit of the orange. It has the subtle kind of gold and black pattern in here. And this has smashed everything from, 30 plus inch northern to 4-pound largemouth bass to, I was throwing this on my smallmouth lake and getting them. I use typically a lot of Kitech trailers. So I have one at the ready, and I'm so sad because Kitech is out of this color right now in 4 inches. It's like my go-to. It's called Gold Flash Minnow. So I've been using, you can see I only have like one left, but that's been my kind of deadly combo, if you will. So this Stanley Jigs, like I said, double Colorado, it's the code red wedge, and then the Kitech trailer.
Okay, and so just to clarify this, because I think this is what you're already saying, but we have Daryl here asking the question, do you use plastics with your spinners? So that's what you're saying, is that you are using those even together. So sometimes people will use that spinner just as is, and that is fabulous. But you also can make that choice of putting plastics onto that.
Absolutely. So I have used the spinnerbaits by themselves. I actually have also used it when the skirt comes off. You're fishing and the fish rips it off, or it's just as old and falls out. You can still put some kind of trailer on it, and it's an effective lure. I mean, the blade action and having something that has a fast vibration like a paddle tail is really pretty effective for triggering bass and northern bites. So what I will do is I'll typically just kind of thread this through on the back here. I like paddle tails. I favor them. Either that or like a minnow kind of trailer, like a Yamamoto Seiko. Is another one that I like to use for a larger profile. But you can see now it just took it to the next level, right? Because now you have that little wiggly tail on it, kind of looks like a minnow vibrating through the water. There's a great natural vibration with these Stanley Wedge spinnerbaits as well. And so it's just a kind of a natural combo.
The other thing that's really fabulous about that, though, is as an angler, we started this conversation talking about, being flexible. And that's one of the things that you can do to really maximize, being flexible as an angler, is you get to really choose which plastic goes on there, and you get to choose that size. You get to choose that profile. Like you're saying, a paddle tail versus maybe something that's a twisty tail. Those are all things that will affect the fish and, that overall bite. And it's interesting to be able to change that up and control that.
Yes. And then also, how tight is the vibration of that lure, and what is the plastic that's going to complement it the most? Because I've been talking a lot about spinnerbaits, but chatterbaits are really something too that early morning, the water is super calm and you want that vibration that just kind of cuts through. Stanley Jigs also has come out with a what they're calling the racket blade. It is their version of a spinnerbait. It's their newest kind of offering on the market, but I love these two because this has such a large, loud chatter to it that it really does cut through the noise. And if you're fishing somewhere with current too, I mean, it's something that will travel, that sound will travel through the current and the fish will pick up on it pretty aggressively as well.
That's a really great point with the noise, because sometimes as an angler, you're out there and you're like, I just wish these fish were paying attention. And that's kind of a way to guarantee that, you know, to not have to depend on just sight alone. That does kind of give you an edge up.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So those were some of the lures I had for show and tell. And I did notice there was a comment earlier about, do I use jerkbaits? And yes, I'm obsessed. I do have some jerkbaits right here to share. So I'll pull out a few of my favorite ones just really quickly. So I typically like to go with Rapalas. I mean, the shadow wraps have been something that I've been really getting into recently, both the shallow ones and then the deeper applications. So I have a couple of those on standby. And of course, they're not going to come out all nice for me because they're all hooked up. But look at it. It's a Christmas tree, guys. It's great.
Hey, I have a solution for you, actually. We'll talk later, but we should check out Lakewood cases, Lakewood products.
I've heard
really awesome. They're all drop-in. It'll keep your lures just ready to go.
You can shake the box and they will not fall out.
I need it because it seriously is like a Christmas tree in here.
But I think that's really awesome because that's something that a lot of people can relate to. It's like you go in for one and it's like 4 come out, and sometimes they change my mind in the process. It's like, that's not even what I went in for.
They come back. Yep, exactly. So this one is one of my favorites for walleye. And then also, you know, I have caught some smallmouth on this. So this is a perch color. It's kind of a more natural, like I said, nice shine to it. Green and silver. This one is more of the shad profile versus your traditional longer jerkbait as well. So that's just one example. I do have, I'll just show you at a glance, you know, a mixture of different colors in here. I have some shad, gizzard shad, chartreuse. I do have a couple that are blue with the orange belly as well. So like I said, I typically kind of gravitate more towards the natural colors plus chartreuse. I need to expand the palette a little bit more and get into more of the reds and the blues.
Yeah, I mean, true, but when you don't have to, that's like pretty.
It's true. It's very
I hear
true.
you, even from the panfish perspective. I mean, honestly, chartreuse, that's speaking my language. Natural colors, that's, you know, that just, and white. Throw some white in there.
Yes.
Not me. My tackle box looks like a 6-year-old girl put it together. I have all kinds of pink and purple and orange and yellows.
I love it. I love it.
Oh my gosh. Scotty here is asking wacky Ned Rig drop shot. So you were talking about getting to learn drop shot a little bit more. Do you love those others as well?
Yes. So I am the weakest and have the most opportunity with drop shotting. I think that's something that I'm going to continue to learn, especially as I get more and more into tournament fishing. I mean, it's a must, right? Being able to have that be suspended above the weeds and have a profile that's just super easy to kind of drop or to cast and just slowly retrieve back. For me, out of those 3, Ned Rig has been my go-to this season. I do love wacky. I mean, wacky always works because it's just something, it seems so silly. It's like, oh, here's a worm, you guys. Just looks so kind of goofy, but the bass love it. You know, it's just a simple setup. But I do love my Neds. So I do have just a simple Ned head here. I believe this is a 3/8 ounce. That's typically what I'm going with, or sometimes a little bit larger. And then I always pair that with, I'm a big loyalist to Z-Man. So I've been doing some people say TRD, others say turd. I'm not sure which is the right application, but this is the size that I've been using a lot of. So it's the 2.75 inches. I like the craw color. I like green pumpkin. I love PBJ. That's kind of my go-to. The Line Cutters boys got me into the PBJ thing, and I've been addicted to it. But really easy. Once again, it's like it's such a small profile, but it seems to be pretty effective for bass. Both smallmouth and largemouth seem to love them. You can hit them right on the edge of the weed line. And I did see at ICAST this year, they are actually coming up with more applications now where it's an offset hook on there. I don't have those yet, but I would like to get one. and I did a poor job of rigging this. It should be straight, but you get the deal, right? Where this is sticking straight up. I would love to get some of those offset ones where it is weedless so that you can truly throw that Ned right into the weeds and have no issue with it.
My mold is lost in the mail somewhere.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. No, Zener's out of Kansas. They'll take care of me, but no, UPS dropped the Ned head on that one.
Oh,
It's
no.
true. Stinks.
Got
It
a
does.
little tip here from our buddy Jay. He said try the VMC spindrift hooks. I'll have to look into that because that's so drop shotting is not only something that that's been a staple in the bass world for a while now. It just recently moved over into the panfish realm, and it's been awesome. I mean, and it's out of all things you would think like perch maybe or some of your deeper crappies, bluegills. Honestly, is where it shines because people found out that bluegills don't just live in 2 feet of water by a dock in the weeds.
Right.
so it's been something that we've been using quite a bit, and it's been working really well. A lot of people have been using it. So yeah, it's really good application for all kinds of species of fish.
It's something that I'm going to need to learn. Like I said, I think my opportunity is going to be next season. I'm really going to start working on the drop shot game. I think there was a question earlier about, do I prefer when we get into this later fall season and into winter, am I fishing more of ice or the river? I have fallen in love big time with river fishing. It is so fun. And all right. Here.
Yeah.
I don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to upset any ice anglers out there because I do love ice fishing too. I have the gear now. I have my own pop-up. I have my auger. I have all of the setup, and I'll talk about the little sonars that I use out on the ice in just a second because they're incredible. But there's something about that river fishing where it's like the bite is so aggressive. They fight so hard. You're freezing out there, but you're not if you're wearing your Striker Climate bibs. But there's just something so cool about that because if you're an all species angler like me, you never know what you're going to catch out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm hooked. You were talking about your sonar setup, so I'm interested in that.
Okay, hold on. Here's the big reveal. I gotta grab them. So, when you're thinking about the fact that I grew up and I didn't have a boat, and I was doing a lot of shore fishing, and actually, if we shift perspectives to Europe, a lot of the people in Europe really don't have boats. They're doing a lot of bank fishing or under bridges or on docks. And so there is a company out there called Deeper Sonar, and Deeper Sonar offers portable little sonars. I mean, this is literally, I have tiny hands. This is literally in the palm of my hand. And the nice part about it is you have an app on your smartphone, Android or iPhone. It connects right to it. It feeds right to it. There's a hotspot that's built into it. And the one advantage I would say that Deeper has over a Vexilar or Markham is that there's no cords. And so that is so nice when you're fighting a monster through the ice and you're bringing it up in the hole. And now you don't have to worry about a tangle with the wires that are down there. So trust me, I do love Vexilar as well. Definitely a fan. But there is something that's really nice about ice season where you have this at a glance, you literally just plop it in the hole and you get a really great accurate read. It does have an ice fishing mode as well. So you get the ring to help differentiate where the fish are in the water column.
Okay, so I'm going to backtrack because there's a few things there. So first of all, you're talking about, all these places, bank fishing and all that. So just to clarify, like you can put that on a rod or online and you can like throw or cast that like out there.
Yes.
To see how, okay.
Yeah, so I kind of went everywhere with that. I apologize. So
no,
yeah,
this is good. No, this is good.
So yes, in Europe, for example, it's very, very popular. They have the second rod. They cast it out. You use really heavy line, obviously, so you don't lose it. You can even huck it on a rope and kind of chuck it out there if you wanted it for short distances. But it is nice because it has like a little metal bracket on the top here. You can thread your line, tie it through, and then be able to use that and kind of retrieve it. So you're in a brand new body of water. You don't have a boat at your disposal. You're trying to figure out the drop-offs. So this is definitely handy on the shore, on the bank. And it's something that I've used even if I go to a new dock. I'm lazy. I'm not on my little 14-foot boat and I just want to be on a dock for a couple hours, this is great to kind of figure out, okay, where is the weed line? Is there any, are there any submerged logs or anything that I should be aware of before I make those first few casts? I noticed the comment about dropping the phone down the hole. Deeper Sonar does make a smartphone holder for your phone to help with that. So just saying.
Well, and okay, so you were talking about, not having the cord, like going, when you were ice fishing, I mean, that is actually, like, you had me when you said that. I was like, dang, that's actually awesome. And I do love that it can go to your smartphone. And I mean, as far as not dropping it down the hole, the other thing I'm thinking about is everybody these days, well, I guess that's the wrong terminology, everybody is interested, though, in these power boxes. That is becoming a thing. Just the last few years in the fishing industry, all these lithium batteries, you can have so much power in such a small spot. There's lights on there. There's this, there's that. It can do everything, hook your phone on there. That is like, it's right there. That would be so cool. And then I bet that's the perfect angle that if you like switch screens, it's like selfie angle, you can still take your fish picture.
Exactly. Exactly. It's a win-win. I mean, it is nice too, because the app that Deeper Sonar has, you can kind of map within the app. You're in it, you're looking at your sonar on your phone. But you can also map, okay, here's where I caught the fish. You can take a selfie with your fish, and then that pairs with the location of where you caught it. You can look at the details of the weather. You can look at the details of the water temperature, kind of differentiating, like I said, between, where's the bottom, where are the fish? Are they suspended? Are they hugging the bottom? What does that look like? Being able to adjust the sensitivity. And Deeper does have 3 kind of core models, if you will, and they are coming out with another model that I think just got released in Europe and isn't available yet in the US. But the Deeper Start is not something for ice fishing. This is your basic, I'm on the shore, I need kind of a structural read, and entry level, if you will. So a good, like we got a good, better, best situation going on. So here's the good, right? Then your Deeper Pro Plus is a nice model. They had just a Pro as well, but this is my go-to, personally, my go-to model, and this is kind of the middle of the road one. Where this is so nice because it does have the ice fishing mode. It has your regular kind of abilities to look at the structure on just like kind of your boat mode, if you will. And then it has a bank or a shore mode as well. And then they did come out with the Deeper Chirp. So it does use chirp functionality. So you're getting a quicker, more real-time read, if you will, of that picture of the bottom and where the fish are moving and what have you. So like I said, three different kind of models that are out there. My go-to is the Deeper Pro Plus.
That's actually really fabulous. My favorite products are the ones that can take from open water to ice and back and forth, because when you never have to put your gear away, that's something that just generally will help you as an angler. Mm-hmm. The other thing you're talking about is the function of, saving location or picture or this or that and being able to pair that data together. And as an angler, that is great to be able to access that. But then the other question is, can you control what is shared, or is that just personal data? Because people don't always want, their fishing location shared.
Exactly. You absolutely can. So it's really like your own personal tracking, if you will. And then you do have the ability, because it has a built-in hotspot, you can share it to social media if you'd like to, just from the app as well. If you really did want to brag and be like, hey, I'm sharing my photo, not my location, you can do that as well. But like I said, it's more of like your personal map, and it records it for you so that next time you're on the lake, you can see the spots that you fished and where you caught them.
Nice.
That is awesome. The other thing that I'm dying to ask, and so I don't mean to switch tracks here, but
no.
You had made a mention about the Striker climate suit. You'd also talked about the Line Cutters zipper pulse. That also was the climate suit. And is that then the suit that you're running from Striker?
So, funny story. I don't have the jacket yet. I am going to try and get the jacket this season. I have the bibs, and I have them right here. And I apologize because they definitely could use a cleaning, but these are like, I love them.
Yeah.
So much. So these are my Striker climates. They are so incredibly warm. I'm a freeze baby. There are mornings where we get out on the Mississippi River and it's a balmy 25 degrees. There's a wind going. It is cold. And it's nice to not have to look like the Michelin Man with about 16 different layers on and, just have 1 or 2 base layers underneath this. And the insulation on this is so warm that I never have to feel like I'm going to get frostbite. So I absolutely love these bibs. They are my favorite. I will say, from a different perspective, I am going to look at getting the adrenaline suit for rain gear because it's a nice middle of the road. It's still warm, even though it doesn't have all of that insulation. It's not like the Denali, right? But the adrenaline is great because it does keep you warm enough when you're out there. It's great application for like your spring fishing. I think I could still use it, in fall, but that's something that on the other spectrum, something that's a little bit lighter that I'm really interested in. And the Veil Strike stole my heart. So I love that pattern big time.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. I love I know I'm laughing at the comments too. I love it. Thank you, people. Keep putting them in. But I've got to say, I run also the climate bibs and jacket, usually just the bibs because, with some layering of sweatshirts, that's usually all that I need. But I do have to say that Striker is doing a really fabulous job of expanding their women's line. And as a woman, sometimes that doesn't always mean like functionality or warmth, but I am seeing that both of those things are coming all wrapped up in the package this year. So you had mentioned going and visiting Striker, and it's funny. Yes. I think we are going to happen to meet there. So people at home, stay tuned. Yeah, that's fun. But I'm thinking I might even start checking out some of that women's gear because I think as far as warmth, it's going to be a competitor to that climate suit. And I think as far as comfort, it is going to, and functionality, it is just going to be a great option. So I'm excited for that.
Well, it's about time that you guys being ladies get some gear because it's from my perspective, working shows with being able to work shows with Striker and stuff. It's heartbreaking that there's so many ladies that love ice fishing and there isn't the gear for them. And so the fact that Striker is like working really hard, this is their 3rd year with a women's line and it's the 3rd year of brand new stuff and it just gets better every year. And it's just about time. It's awesome.
Well, and with that, there is options for everybody because that does not mean that women have to have a woman's suit. That is a thing. Nope. And the number of times that even guys will walk up to an expo booth and want the drop seat on those bibs. Mm-hmm. I hear that. I'm thinking these lines, maybe just call them everybody lines.
Yeah.
Right. Sure. There you go. I am so excited and really impressed with innovation that Striker is showing and also the attention to the female industry, right? I mean, because we are a huge mix of the portfolio, obviously, and more women are getting into hard water as well. And so I'm really excited about the Stella suit. I think it's going to be a fantastic addition to the line. And then also being a part of the Striker team now, I feel that my voice is going to be heard with product innovation and development in the future. And that is really exciting. Thinking about next spring and then even next winter season, what are we going to have next?
Yeah, that is for sure. What are we going to have next? Not a whole lot tonight because we are running out of time, unfortunately, because there's a ton of questions and, I could sit here chatting forever. But that is the thing about it is we ultimately have to come to an end at some point here. Before we do, if people out there are looking to continue to follow you on your adventures, how do they do that?
Absolutely. So just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity and really would enjoy connecting with any angler out there, whether you're just starting out or a little bit more advanced in your progression of angling. Happy to answer questions. Love meeting new anglers. So for me, I have my brand is Miss Fish Whisperer. So I have a Facebook page and then I have more of a following, if you will, on Instagram. And then there's also a YouTube channel. I partner with a couple friends who are out on the coast, on the West Coast. We're called The Bite. And so we publish a great mixture of all species angling, anything from salmon to ice fishing to, me going down to Florida. So those are kind of my avenues of where you can follow me. And like I said, I'm kind of the everyday angler. I love meeting new people and would love to drop a line with you guys out on the water sometime.
Fabulous. I imagine that we will do that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, we also loved having you on, and I imagine that we will do this again because this was a ton of fun, and there's tons more questions to ask and answer.
Mm-hmm.
But to the people at home, thank you guys for being here as well, because that is a ton of fun and definitely makes for an awesome show to know what you guys want to hear about. So that was a great time.
Yeah.
Other than that, looking forward to seeing everybody on next week's episode of Hook, Line, and Striker.
Night, everybody.
Bye.